初代センチュリーの開発がスタートしたのは、日本が戦後の復興を遂げた1963年。トヨタはクラウンに続きコロナ、パブリカを発売。国産自動車メーカーとしての地位を固めつつ、大型高級車市場はまだ外国車が占有。既存のクラウンを改造したクラウン8を開発するも、外国車の壁は高く、思うようにはいかない。同じではダメだ。どんな車とも違う日本の高級車を作ろう。そんな思いで日本の持てる技術の全てを注ぎ込み、ゼロから開発したのが初代センチュリー。開発担当はトヨタ初の主査、中村健也。彼はトヨタの創業者豊田喜一郎の国産乗用車への夢に惹かれ、トヨタに入社しクラウンを作り上げた。喜一郎の夢には続きがあった。世界に認められる国産車の完成という夢だ。その思いを託されたのがセンチュリーである。しかし当時のトヨタは車作りに関してたかだか30年の歴史しかない。伝統も名声もないトヨタが本当に高級車を作ることができるのか、そう危惧する声もあったが、中村はこう話した。伝統は後から自然にできるものだ。ないのにあるように見せるのは偽物だ。今までにない新しい高級車を作ろう。今の高級車のアキレス腱は新しいことがやれないことだ。そして斬新なアイデアや革新的な技術に果敢に挑戦。当時技術担当専務であった豊田章一郎名誉会長も開発・生産に深く関与。中村のことをエンジニアの先輩として尊敬し、こう話す。中村さんはチャレンジ精神が旺盛で意志の固い人だった。何事も挑戦なくしては技術は向上しないし、他より先に行くことはできないという彼の技術や魂をよく聞かされた。日本の道はほとんど走ったが、車を調べるために走っているのだから道しか知らないと言っていた。中村さんは豊田工業の研究と創造に心を致し、常に時流に先んずべしを生涯貫いた技術者だ。そして苦難の末、初代センチュリーはラインオフ。当時のカタログにはこう記されている。センチュリーは今までの乗用車と異なり、たくさんの方々にご愛用いただける車ではありません。日本人の誇りと実力を示しうる選ばれた方だけにお乗りいただく車です。こうして日本の自動車史にショーファーカーという新たな歴史が誕生した。本質の追求、これがセンチュリーの DNA だからこそ、初代はモデルチェンジすることなく30年愛され続けた。バトンを受けた2代目も20年続き、天皇陛下専用となる御両車センチュリーロイヤルのベースに。そしてその DNA は現行車である3代目にもしっかりと受け継がれている。
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Well, today marks a very special moment for a car at the very pinnacle of the Toyota portfolio, the Century. Now, Century is a singular automobile representing the height of Japanese sensibilities. Born as the pride of Toyota, Century has become the pride of Japan. It takes a nation to build a century, and that nation is changing But to understand the future, we must first understand the past. Every great product is created by great people, and through those products, they inspire ever greater accomplishments. Century was named in honor of one of those individuals. First introduced in 1967, Century commemorated the centenary of the birth of Sakeiichi Toyoda, founder of the Toyota Group. The principles of disciplined creativity that Sakeiichi lived and worked by remain the core principles of Toyota to this day. And during the first development of the first century in the 1960s, Japan was still a rising economy. Toyota was yet to compete with the exotic imported luxury cars. And when Shoichiro Toyoda commissioned Century, it was a huge gamble. For over a year, Shoichiro-san worked day and night, embedded in the Century team, led by Chief Engineer Kenya Nakamura. And cutting-edge technology alone, it wasn't enough. They needed to embrace Japan's heritage and cultural values to create something completely new and unique. The philosophy that gave birth to Century was handed down from generation to generation, and throughout this time, Shoichiro-san remained personally involved in the development of all three generations of Century. And for the most recent sedan in 2018, I was fortunate to witness that attention to detail firsthand. Over 90 years old at the time, his single-minded vision for Century was unclouded. I remember being taken aback by the detail of his questions, right down to the exact position of the rear seats. But millimeter by millimeter, degree by degree, he led us to see what he saw. And to explain this focus, I need you to imagine a day in the life of a Century customer. Often an individual for whom public service extends to every movement in every moment that they are seen, where arrival and departure are the first and last impressions that they imbue. The elegance of the transition from public to private realms is an art in itself. Century's role was to make that transition as natural and as seamless as possible. And his greatest lesson to us was that the key to the finest attention to detail in car making is to show the finest attention to detail in customer understanding. And that customer is changing. New generations are leading new industries with new ways of thinking and new ways of working. Akio Toyoda was acutely aware of this. He knew that Century had to change, but he also believed that it had the potential to move with the times without sacrificing what it stood for. He inspired us to embrace those changing times and take a more adventurous path. A Century that was dignified but bold, thoughtful but confident, and subtle but expressive. Century's Phoenix motif could not be more fitting. The opening of a new era. Ladies and gentlemen, a century for the next century. Thank you. Well, I think you'll agree that this is a bold addition to the Century legacy. I remember when we first showed the car to Akio, his reaction was a very, very simple, wow. A completely new direction, but still very much a Century. And together with the sedan, the new vehicle was worthy to stand at the apex of Toyota, the two wings of the Phoenix. So how do we get to this answer? Well, it all revolves around the requirements of a unique group of customers. They need space to work, but also to rest. They want space to converse, but also to escape. They seek space to think, but also be inspired. And they value privacy, but at the same time, they embrace public life. That is, we needed to create a car that allowed the customer to curate their own personal experiences, both practically and emotionally. And the result is a flagship like no other. It's uniquely Japanese. This architecture allows customers to seamlessly move between experiences by the minute and in the moment. And at the center of this world is the rear seat. When concentration and productivity are a necessity, everything you need is at your fingertips, but it's never in your way. And not only practical elements, but also creating just the right distance for privacy between passenger and driver. But productivity also requires inspiration and creativity, space to think and relax. As the quietest car we've ever made, Century is the perfect environment. At any speed, occupants can converse naturally without raising their voice. With a plug-in powertrain, the majority of everyday journeys will be silent and zero emission. And this, together with four-wheel steering, four-wheel drive, will allow professional drivers even greater control over vehicle dynamics, providing an even smoother ride for all passengers. Within this serene environment, you can freely choose the lighting and acoustics to suit your mood, from electrochromatic glass to an audio system that taps into Japan's experience in creating some of the world's finest musical instruments. But there are times when sleep is the only answer. Take off your shoes, fully stretch out, and recline into a cocoon-like environment, your own private oasis. And these features are just the start. Naturally, every Century can be tailor-made to your requirements, whether that's color or materials or seat configurations, or even down to how you choose to alight from the vehicle on arrival. In other words, you can even choose your own door, whether that's the ultra-wide swing door, or maybe something a little bit more dramatic. How about that for an entrance? Rest assured, when your journey comes to an end, you'll step out of Century refreshed. The opportunities are only limited by your imagination. If you want to drive the vehicle yourself at the weekend, the GRMN will certainly not disappoint. The possibilities are endless and open to discussion. At Toyota, we believe in the value of freedom of motion for everyone, whatever their situation or position. Within this, the role of chauffeur-driven mobility, it can't be underestimated. The car is an expression and an extension of customers' values. Whether that be the sleek elegance of the zero-emission fuel cell Crown sedan, or the ultimate power and space of the Alphard Velfire, we provide the opportunity for people to choose how they wish to express themselves. Century sits at the tip of Toyota's vision for chauffeur-driven mobility. It's bold and dynamic, but still retains its discerning taste. It's inherently simple, but it also has great depth. It's modern, but still has a connection to its heritage. Century embodies everything that's good about Japanese sensibilities, both aesthetically and conceptually. The heritage of tomorrow is the innovation of today. Let's change the future of cars. 車の未来を変えていこう. Thank you very much for your time.